Welcome to Legal Video Resource. I'm Jason Wietholter. Today we're going to be answering the question, what is legal videography? So what is legal videography? Well, broadly defined, it's the practice and profession of utilizing audio-video gear to capture, prepare, and present testimony and evidence in legal proceedings. I know, it's a mouthful. It sounds really broad and it also kind of sounds technical, and it is really both of those things. But let me hopefully put it in a little bit of context for you. Imagine all the things that you can do with, your phone, the device that's probably in your pocket, or maybe that you're watching this video on right now. You can take photos, you can take video, you can edit that photo or edit that video. You can crop it, you can change the color, you can add text or a title. You can put multiple photos together. You can email them to friends. With video, you can trim the in and out points. You can even edit multiple videos together. You can put titles on the video. You can add color, maybe a graphic or some effects. You can send those to friends. All those things you can do with your phone, we probably just take it for granted that we can do it. But those are all the same kind of things that when applied to video, or at least professional video and legal or litigation, those same things happen in litigation. And that's what legal videography is. It's all those different things, just on a different level and with a different application. Where you might use your phone for a personal project, you probably wouldn't want to use your phone for a professional project, because that's what you are. You're a professional shooting video. But all those different things you can do with your phone, capture something, edit something, send something to somebody else, that's what legal videography is. You might work in the field currently, or maybe you've spoken with a lawyer, some lawyers, and you can imagine them asking this question. They might say, I wonder if that's possible, or I wonder if I can, edit this video, or I wonder if I can edit that photo, or I wonder if I can put the two together. I wonder if I can add music to it. I wonder if I can add a voiceover to it. Those kind of questions come up all the time because lawyers are experts on the law. They're not experts on technology. They've probably seen it all, and they probably, used it on their phone maybe sometimes. But like I said, we kind of all take that for granted. And that's where you step in as a legal videographer. You answer those questions for them. You help them use the tools to do what they want to do. So let's break down this really long, really broad definition into its component parts. First, practice and profession. The hallmarks of a practice or a profession are, first of all, professionalism. Professionalism can run the gamut, but it's how you dress. It's how you treat somebody, the level of service that you offer. It's the problem-solving skills that you bring to the table. It's how you interact with and serve other people. Professionalism is this, enigma that we all think we know the answer to, but everybody has different definitions for. But professionalism is really important in legal video because you're in a profession and you are working with other professionals. You're working with lawyers, paralegals, court reporters, judges staff, other people that are involved in legal and litigation. These people are professionals. They are experts in their field. They deserve respect, and so do you because you're a professional. So treat them the way you'd want to be treated. Another hallmark of a practice or a profession is education. Education, learning about what it is that you are a professional in, or what it is you espouse to be a professional of. Education is learning about what it is that you are doing, what it is that you are offering, what services you offer. So you owe it to yourself to invest in yourself in getting education. Education can come from a number of different sources. It can come from a well-established body. It can come from searching online and reading articles. It can come from watching videos. It can come from reading the manual to the equipment that you're going to use. Educate yourself on the process, because Again, this is part of being in a practice or being part of a profession, is knowing really, really well, knowing on an expert level what it is that you do, what services you offer. And hand in hand with that is continuous development. You know, lawyers, doctors, paralegals, accountants, anybody that's a professional, things change in their business. Maybe technology changes, maybe a procedure changes, maybe rules and laws change. And so these professionals are continuously learning. They have continuing requirements to learn, to develop their profession, to develop what it is they can offer their clients. Similarly, videographers have that same kind of responsibility to continuously develop. That means keeping up to date on technology, keeping up to date on rule changes, keeping up to date on what it is that is standard in the market in terms of what services to offer, how to offer those services. The nice thing about being in a practice or a profession is that it is always changing, so you don't have to know everything up front. You have to know a lot to begin, but you don't have to know everything. You get to keep learning. I mean, it's called practice for a reason. You keep practicing the profession, you keep getting better, and you become an expert in that profession. The second part of the definition is audio-video gear. Some of us call these toys, but really they're tools. They're tools that help you help other people deliver on something that they need. And this really goes to a mastery of the technology. You're using audio-video gear. You're the expert in the audio-video gear that you're using. So you need to know how to use the tools to help capture something, to end up delivering it for a client to use. Now, this can encompass audio production, this can encompass video production, this encompasses post-production. And you need to be a master of all these things as it relates to legal video. Because like I said before, attorneys or paralegals, they might be experts in their field. They might know about the law or procedure or how to work in the law office environment or how to work with the judge, but they don't know all the tools that go into or all the aspects that go into producing a professional video. Again, we might take it for granted on our phones that we kind of know how this stuff works, but you're the expert as the videographer. You're the expert on the technology. And so attorneys, paralegals, other people in the litigation profession, they're going to look to you as an expert on the audio video side of things. So you need to be a master of that technology. And again, you don't have to know all of it right away, but you need to know a good wide breadth of things if you're going to be a deposition videographer. And then you need to keep growing the depth of your experience and the depth of your knowledge. You need to grow and master that technology. Now, there are 3 steps in this process: capture, prepare, and present. If you come from a video production background, you probably know the 3 phases of video production: pre-production, production, and post-production. And roughly these 3 stages, capture, prepare, and present, map to different parts of those production phases. And it's just different terms for basically the same thing. It's just in the legal video space or in the litigation space, we just kind of talk about it differently. So let me kind of break it down for you. If you're from the video production background, capture is where you actually capture the video. But that encompasses both pre-production and production tasks, because in order to capture deposition video or capture legal video, you need to know where you're going, what the setup is like, what time you need to be there, who's going to be there, what's going to be happening when you're there. Those are all pre-production tasks that ultimately lead to when you get on site and now you're into the production phase and you're setting up the room or you're setting up the area you're going to be shooting in. You lay out the equipment, you connect everything, you test it all, and then you ultimately hit record and you capture everything. So pre-production and production are kind of mixed up in the capture side of things. Prepare and present, the 2 other aspects or the 2 other steps or phases in the process of legal video, they kind of encompass and extend on the post-production phase of video production. So prepare. After you've captured the video, you want to prepare that for a client. And when I say prepare, I mean encode it into a format that they can actually use. Because while you could just pull the SD card or something out of your camera and hand it to your client, again, they're not the expert in video technology, you are. And they're expecting that whatever you hand them, whatever you deliver to them, they can simply stick into a computer or stick into some device and it just works. And so you need to take that video that you've captured and prepare it so that you can give it to them to use. Because when you do that phase, you're employing your mastery of audio, video, and post-production to help deliver something to the client that doesn't require them to be an expert in video. Because if they were an expert in video, they wouldn't need you, but you're the expert in video. You're the legal videographer. And then present kind of extends beyond that, because typically in post-production, in video post-production, you deliver a final deliverable. Maybe it's the final edited video or a version of the video, a specific codec or format of the video, and you're done. Your hands are off. It's up to somebody else to do what they want with that video at that point. But as legal videographers, you might be called to actually do that something else, which might be to present that video. Present that video at a trial, at mediation, at arbitration. And as part of that presentation, that's going to extend beyond what typical post-production processes do in the video space, but it might also encompass some of the post-production process, specifically editing. Because sometimes when you get to the present stage, you're actually editing the video and presenting it, basically sitting in the same seat. So we talk about capture, prepare, present. Those three things, three phases go into legal video. You capture it, you prepare that video for somebody else to use, and or you then present the video for your client in trial, in a mediation, or an arbitration. There are two things that you're capturing: testimony and evidence. Testimony and evidence are two legs of what legal videographers do. And there are two reasons that there are these two different legs, testimony and evidence. One is a legal reason. All the facts that a case is built on, all the facts that litigation are built on, come in the form of testimony and evidence. There are some other facts that can come in through other means or methods, but it really breaks down to two things: testimony and evidence. Testimony is something that somebody knows, somebody recollects, and they testify to. They explain it. They say, this is what I saw, this is what I heard. It's information that a person has, and so they give testimony about it. Evidence, on the other hand, is something that actually took place, or a piece of information that occurred, or something that resulted from whatever the case is about. So testimony is someone's on-the-record statement. When you're on the record, when you hit record and that testimony is captured and you're on the record, that is the official record of that case. That goes down in history as part of the official record of that case. Now, evidentiary video, on the other hand, is evidence. These are things that you get from the scene, or maybe get from the people that are going to testify. And evidence can kind of be broken down further into two different pieces. Evidence, actual admissible evidence that goes to a jury, and the other is demonstrative evidence. In a trial, evidence is presented to a jury, testimony is presented to a jury, and then the jury gets to take the evidence back with them and deliberate. Now, what they don't get to take back with them are demonstrative pieces of evidence. And the difference between evidence and demonstrative evidence is, imagine if you had a camera in a car recording video when an accident occurred, and that accident is then the basis for the litigation. Well, that video from that camera in the car when the accident occurred, that's evidence, because that occurred at the time it was contemporaneous with that accident occurring. Now imagine for a moment that you went out later on and you didn't have that camera in the car, but you went out later on and maybe you had a similar car. Maybe you're in the same intersection or the same area where the accident took place, and you drive through with that video camera recording. Now that's not really evidence because it didn't take place when that actual event took place, but you can use it to show, these aren't the actual events that happened, but it's pretty close and it gives you an idea of what was going on at the time and what it looked like. And so that's a demonstrative, and the jury can decide whether or not it's useful to them, and they can disregard it. but a lot of times demonstrative evidence is something that's recorded or produced or created after the fact, after when events actually took place, to help demonstrate or show what happened when the events actually did take place. In legal proceedings is really broad because there is this wide gamut of the life cycle of litigation. At the beginning you have discovery, and even before the case is filed, you have investigation. But then you have discovery, you have motions and pretrial, and then you have trial and then appeal. What legal videographers do happens at a number of points along that line. Technically speaking, legal videographers can get involved in the investigation phase before litigation's ever filed, before a lawsuit is ever filed. But really, legal videographers get involved in the discovery phase more often than not. And discovery is where depositions take place, where evidence is gathered, and then that video is used. Remember we talked before, capture, prepare, present. Those three things kind of happen again and again and again throughout trial, because once you capture something once, you can prepare and present it a number of different ways, or in litigation, not just trial, but litigation. So a lot of the capture process happens in discovery, and then you'll prepare and present that video at motions. Maybe your client will send it to an expert for review. Maybe it'll get used at mediations or arbitrations before trial. And it can get used at trial. It can get used at trial for two different reasons. One might be that in the case of deposition video, the witness can't come to trial for some reason. They're unavailable for some reason. Well, you can play the video at trial instead of having them testify live. The other thing you can do is if they do testify live, and they testify to something different live at trial than they did when they were at the deposition, you can impeach their testimony at trial with what they said at the deposition. You can do that with the video. So there's a bunch of different ways that video gets used throughout the litigation life cycle, and it just kind of continues to happen because once you capture something once, you can prepare and present it a number of different times throughout this life cycle. Now, this is a lot of information, and it sounds really scary, but it's really not as scary as you might think because, again, you don't have to know everything all at once. It's a profession, it's a practice. You keep learning. You do need to know a lot of things, but you don't need to know everything. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful or useful, I encourage you to click subscribe down below because as we create more content and publish it, you'll be the first to know about it. Also, if you had a question or a comment that maybe we didn't answer or something that you want to share, let us know in the comments down below. We'll try to answer those questions or use that information for later videos in Legal Video Resource. So again, thanks for joining me today, and we will see you next time on Legal Video Resource.